Every morning, before a person even has the chance to drink their first cup of coffee or brush their teeth, the heart is already operating under increased stress. And most people have absolutely no idea this is happening. Day after day, they repeat the same routines that cardiologists have long considered risky. I've worked in cardiology for many years, and over that time, thousands of patients have sat in my office. Young people, older adults, athletes, and people who had never exercised a day in their lives. Patients with excellent medical tests, and others carrying an entire list of diagnoses. And you know what still surprises me? Most heart attacks I've seen did not happen because someone was overworking themselves or experiencing severe emotional stress. They happened in the morning, during the first hours after waking up. That's when the heart is at its most vulnerable. That's when blood pressure rises sharply, blood becomes thicker, and blood vessels experience maximum strain. And right at that moment, most people unknowingly perform actions that push their cardiovascular system closer to disaster. Today, I want to talk about something I warn my patients about constantly: morning habits that become genuinely dangerous after the age of 60. Not abstract dangers, not theoretical risks, real physiological threats. We're talking about ordinary, everyday things, habits people repeat automatically because they seem harmless, sometimes even healthy. But beneath that apparent harmlessness lies a process that slowly wears down the heart over many years until one day the consequences appear suddenly and without warning. I'm not here to frighten you. I'm here to explain. Because once a person understands what's happening inside the body, they can make smarter decisions. And in some cases, the right decision truly becomes a matter of life and death. I say that without exaggeration. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to give you specific recommendations, simple, practical changes that don't involve expensive medications or complicated systems. You can start applying them tomorrow morning. And one more thing. If you haven't subscribed to the World of Health channel yet, this is the perfect time. Here, there's no nonsense, no fake miracle supplements, and no fear-mongering designed only for views. This is real medicine explained in ordinary language. The kind of advice a doctor gives to family members, not the dry language you read in official pamphlets. Subscribe, and every new video will become something far more valuable than ordinary health content. Now let's begin with the physiology itself. To understand why the morning hours are so dangerous, you first need to understand what happens to the heart and blood vessels the moment you wake up. Most people imagine sleep as complete rest. The body is quiet, the heart beats calmly, everything is relaxed. And that's partly true, but only partly. Yes, during sleep, blood pressure decreases, the pulse slows down, and the cardiovascular system enters an energy-saving mode. That's normal. That's how the body restores itself. But the instant you open your eyes, an entire cascade of physiological reactions begins within minutes. The very first thing the brain does after waking is send a signal to the adrenal glands to release cortisol, the stress hormone. Now, don't misunderstand. Cortisol is not bad. Your body needs it in the morning to wake up, become alert, and prepare for activity. In fact, cortisol reaches its highest level of the day during the first 30 to 40 minutes after waking. This is called the cortisol awakening response. At the same time, adrenaline rises, the pulse accelerates, and blood pressure starts climbing. Blood also becomes slightly thicker because the body temporarily increases clotting activity in preparation for movement and physical activity. All of this happens before you've even stepped out of bed. Now imagine what happens if, on top of this natural physiological storm, you suddenly jump up, drink strong coffee immediately, take an ice-cold shower, or begin the day already dehydrated. The strain on the heart increases dramatically. This is exactly why statistics show that most heart attacks and strokes occur between 6 a.m. and noon. That is not coincidence. It's the direct result of what's happening biologically during the first hours after waking. Your blood vessels are already under stress. Your blood pressure is already rising, and any additional trigger can become the final push. This is especially true after age 60, when arteries lose elasticity and the body's adaptive mechanisms no longer respond as quickly as they once did. This isn't just theory. I've seen it repeatedly in clinical practice, and decades of cardiology research confirm the same thing. Most people who experience morning heart attacks had no warning signs that day. They simply woke up, followed their normal routine, and the heart could no longer compensate. That's why I always tell my patients this. Morning is not merely the start of your day. It is the most important stress test your heart experiences every single day. And the way you begin those first minutes matters far more than most people realize. Now let's talk about the first and perhaps most common mistake people make every morning without even thinking about it: getting out of bed too quickly. The alarm rings, and within seconds, many people are already standing up, rushing to the bathroom, heading to the kitchen, immediately starting activity. It seems energetic, productive, even healthy. But from a cardiovascular standpoint, it's one of the worst ways to begin the day. Here's why. The moment you stand abruptly, gravity instantly pulls blood downward into the legs and pelvis. Your heart must immediately compensate by increasing circulation to the brain. Otherwise, you would faint. In a young person with healthy elastic arteries, this compensation happens quickly and smoothly. But after 60, blood vessels are stiffer, and the autonomic nervous system responds more slowly. That means blood pressure fluctuates sharply, the pulse suddenly accelerates, and all of this occurs while cortisol and adrenaline are already elevated from the natural waking process. Many patients tell me that when they stand up too quickly, their vision darkens for a few seconds, they feel dizzy, or they experience weakness. Most assume it's just aging or poor sleep. In reality, this is often orthostatic hypotension, a temporary drop in blood pressure caused by moving too quickly from lying down to standing. By itself, this isn't always catastrophic, but it's a warning sign that the cardiovascular system is struggling to adapt fast enough. And for people with hypertension, atherosclerosis, or vascular disease, these sudden pressure changes significantly increase the risk of stroke and heart attack, especially in the morning hours. There's another issue few people discuss. Standing abruptly activates the sympathetic nervous system, the body's fight or flight response. That means another surge of adrenaline enters the bloodstream, raising blood pressure even higher and increasing clotting tendencies. This exact chain reaction is involved in many morning cardiac events. It's not one single disease causing the problem. It's the combination of several sudden physiological stresses occurring simultaneously. The solution is simple, and I ask all my patients to follow it. When the alarm goes off, do not jump up immediately. Give yourself 1 minute in bed. Move your toes, rotate your ankles, stretch your legs gently. These small movements begin restoring venous blood flow toward the heart while you're still lying down. Then, sit on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds to 1 minute. Breathe calmly. Only after that should you stand up. This isn't laziness. It isn't weakness. It's a smart and physiologically safe transition that protects the heart from unnecessary morning stress. Now let's discuss the second major mistake: drinking strong coffee or tea immediately after waking up on an empty stomach. Most people see this as completely normal. The whole world drinks coffee, right? Yes. But timing matters enormously. You've just woken up. Cortisol is already at its highest point. Blood pressure is rising naturally. The heart is already in activation mode. And then, before eating or even drinking water, you flood the system with caffeine. On an empty stomach, caffeine absorbs extremely quickly, which means its effects become sharper and more intense. Caffeine stimulates the sympathetic nervous system even further. Blood pressure rises more. Heart rate increases more. In other words, you're adding extra cardiovascular stress at the exact moment your body is already under maximum physiological load. Now let me be clear. I'm not telling you to quit coffee. That would be unnecessary. In moderate amounts, 2 or 3 cups daily, coffee can actually benefit cardiovascular health because it contains antioxidants and protective compounds. But coffee only helps when consumed properly, not immediately after waking, not on an empty stomach. This becomes especially important for people with hypertension, arrhythmias, previous strokes, or heart disease, because their blood vessels respond more dramatically to caffeine stimulation. I've had patients who suffered years of morning palpitations, chest tightness, and anxiety without realizing their coffee routine was contributing to it. So what should you do instead? Simple. First, drink a glass of water. Wait about 20 to 30 minutes. Then have your coffee or tea alongside a light snack, perhaps a banana, a few nuts, yogurt, or whole grain bread with avocado. Food slows caffeine absorption, softens its cardiovascular impact, and allows you to enjoy the same energy boost without placing unnecessary strain on the heart. The third mistake surprises many people because they genuinely believe they're doing something healthy, taking extremely hot, extremely cold, or sharply contrasting showers immediately after waking. Cold plunges and contrast showers have become trendy online, promoted as miracle cures for energy and immunity. And yes, these practices can offer benefits for certain individuals, but not for everyone, and certainly not when done incorrectly. Let's examine what actually happens physiologically. When very hot water hits the body, blood vessels rapidly dilate. Peripheral resistance drops, meaning blood pressure temporarily falls. The heart immediately speeds up to maintain adequate blood flow to the brain and organs. And remember, this is happening while your cardiovascular system is already activated from the natural morning hormone surge. For aging arteries that are stiff or affected by atherosclerosis, this creates significant strain. Cold water creates the opposite problem. Blood vessels constrict instantly. Blood pressure spikes suddenly. The heart experiences what is essentially a hydraulic shock. For someone with arterial plaques or hypertension, that sudden pressure increase can trigger plaque rupture, the exact mechanism behind many heart attacks. This isn't theoretical. It's a well-understood cardiological process. Many patients have told me they felt dizziness, chest pressure, or palpitations after morning showers without ever suspecting water temperature played a role. But there is absolutely a connection. The safest morning shower temperature is approximately 36 to 38 degrees Celsius, comfortably warm, close to body temperature. That temperature avoids sudden vascular reactions and unnecessary stress on the heart. If you enjoy cooler water for alertness, lower the temperature gradually rather than abruptly switching from hot to freezing. Gradual change is the key. It allows the cardiovascular system to adapt safely instead of being shocked. Now let's discuss the fourth major issue, morning dehydration. This is one of the most underestimated cardiovascular risks because it rarely causes obvious symptoms immediately. Instead, the danger builds quietly over time until one day the consequences appear suddenly. Think about this. During sleep, the body goes 6 to 8 hours without fluid intake. Yet throughout the night, water continues leaving the body through breathing and perspiration. That means most people wake up mildly dehydrated every single morning. As dehydration develops, blood becomes thicker and more viscous. The heart must work harder to pump it through blood vessels. It's like trying to force thick oil through narrow pipes. Thicker blood also increases clotting risk. Platelets become more likely to stick together, forming clots capable of blocking coronary or cerebral arteries. This is why the morning hours are so dangerous. Elevated blood pressure, thicker blood, and stressed blood vessels all combine at once. After age 60, another problem appears. The thirst mechanism weakens. Older adults often become significantly dehydrated without actually feeling thirsty. That's why relying on thirst alone becomes dangerous. The recommendation is simple and extremely effective. The first thing you should do every morning is drink 1 glass of water, approximately 250 to 300 milliliters, before coffee, breakfast, or anything else. You can add lemon or mint if plain water feels boring. Then continue drinking small amounts consistently throughout the day rather than waiting until thirst appears. This one habit alone can reduce cardiovascular strain significantly and lower long-term clotting risk. Finally, let's talk about the morning blood pressure surge itself. Most people think high blood pressure is equally dangerous all day long. That's not true. Timing matters enormously. Blood pressure follows a circadian rhythm. During sleep, it normally drops by about 10 to 20%. That nighttime reduction allows the cardiovascular system to rest and recover. But between roughly 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., blood pressure rises sharply. This phenomenon is called the morning blood pressure surge. Everyone experiences it, but in healthy individuals, the increase remains moderate. In people with hypertension, atherosclerosis, or vascular damage, however, the surge becomes far stronger and far more dangerous. And this exact period is when the risk of heart attack and stroke reaches its peak.